Welcome back to the Wellbeing Podcast. Every episode is a step toward a healthier and happier you. Let's grow, thrive, and shine together. Today we're going deep on something pretty fascinating. It's all about how these small, like almost insignificant actions can actually create huge changes in your life, especially when it comes to mental well-being. We always start these deep dives with some source material, and this time you've given us something really interesting to work with, stuff about lessons learned from some seriously intense training, actually. We're talking Navy SEAL training.
Wow, that's intense, yeah.
Yeah. So it got me thinking, this isn't just about being physically strong. It's got to be about building mental resilience, discipline, like that inner strength
Right,
to face anything.
right, absolutely. It's about pushing your limits and coming out stronger on the other side. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let's get into it. One of the things the material talks about is starting your day strong with a win.
Okay, I like that. Starting strong.
Yeah, and get this. They suggest something as simple as making your bed. I know it sounds basic, right?
You'd think so.
But the author actually compares it to Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, like even in captivity, he refused to make his bed.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And it's not about being like a neat freak or anything.
Right.
It's more about creating that feeling of order, of control,
Wow.
like starting your day with a win, even a tiny one, can set the tone for everything else.
It's true. It's that sense of accomplishment, right? Even something small can give you a boost and set you up for a more positive, productive day.
Exactly. And speaking of tackling challenges, the source material really emphasizes this idea of teamwork.
Okay, teamwork.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, there's this crazy story about a 10-foot rubber raft.
A 10-foot rubber raft.
Okay. And the trainees, they had to carry it everywhere
Mm.
and paddle it. It was like this constant test.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine. It sounds like a powerful metaphor for life in general.
Yeah, totally. Like we all need our paddlers, right? The people who support us and help us get through the rough waters.
Definitely. I mean, think about it, those tough times when you feel like you're drowning in stress or overwhelm.
Totally. Having those people to lean on to help you keep your head above water, it makes all the
It's a
difference.
huge difference.
And actually, you know what really got me? The author shares this really personal story about a near-fatal parachute accident.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he had to go through this, like, incredibly long recovery process.
I bet. Parachute accident, that's scary stuff.
Oh, totally. And he specifically talks about how his wife and his colleagues, they were like his lifeline. They helped him through it.
That's so powerful. It really highlights how crucial it is to have that support system.
Totally. It's not about trying to be tough all on your own. It's about acknowledging that we all need others to help us along the way.
It's that shared journey, right? Helping each other through those tough times, celebrating the wins together.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads us to this theme of courage and resilience.
Okay, courage, resilience. Love it.
Right. So the author tells this story about a sailor, like this
Mhm.
really small guy. Everyone kind of doubted him because of his size,
Really?
but he completely crushed it in training.
Wow. Talk about proving them wrong.
Totally. And what's even more amazing, the author later finds out this tiny sailor was actually Tom Norris.
Tom Norris, the highly decorated SEAL.
Yes, it blew my mind. And it makes you think, right? Like real strength, it doesn't come from your physical appearance or size. It comes from within.
It's about that inner drive, that fire in your belly, that refusal to give up. That's what makes a true warrior.
So true. But we all have moments of doubt, right? Like even in this source material, the author talks about meeting Saddam Hussein.
After his capture.
Yeah. And get this, even then, he was still trying to intimidate people.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Still trying to hold on to that power.
Totally. It's like, even stripped of everything, he was clinging to this image of strength. But what's interesting is that the author, he intentionally took that away from him.
What do you mean?
Well, like little things. He wouldn't let Hussein stand when people entered the room, things like that. Just these small but symbolic actions to show him that intimidation wouldn't work anymore.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's like, even in that situation, small actions can chip away at someone's power.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, there's this concept in SEAL training called the circus.
The circus. That sounds ominous.
It is. It's basically this grueling punishment for anyone who doesn't meet the standards. So yeah, pretty intense.
I bet. But I guess in a way, it's not just about punishment, right? It's about pushing those trainees to their absolute limits
Yeah.
to develop that mental toughness they need to succeed.
Exactly. It's about learning how to push through failure to come back stronger. And you know what? The author actually admits to failing as a SEAL officer early on in his career.
Really? He doesn't strike me as the type to fail.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But he says it was devastating. But he used that failure as fuel.
The fuel to improve.
Totally. He worked harder, he came back, and eventually he regained that success.
Wow. That's an important lesson for everyone, really. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about how you bounce back.
Exactly. Setbacks, they don't have to define us. It's how we respond that matters. Now, this next part, it really resonated with me. It talks about how during one of the toughest training exercises, the trainees started singing.
Singing in the middle of like a brutal SEAL training exercise.
Yeah, can you imagine? It seems so out of place. But it's not just about passing the time. It's about finding hope.
Finding hope in the darkest moments.
Exactly. And the author connects this back to his own experiences, too, like his time at Dover Air Force Base.
Dover, where they receive the bodies of fallen soldiers.
Yeah, he talks about comforting the families there.
Wow, that must have been incredibly difficult, just heartbreaking.
It sounds like it. But he also describes this incredible feeling of shared grief, the resilience people find when they come together in the face of tragedy. He even mentions General John Kelly, who lost his son in combat.
Yeah. General Kelly's strength and composure in the face of such loss is truly inspiring.
It's like, even in those moments of immense sadness, there's this power in connection.
Yeah.
And coming together, it's really beautiful, but also really heavy, you know?
Absolutely. It speaks to the depth of the human spirit, our ability to find strength and support in the face of unimaginable pain.
So much to unpack there. Okay, so we've talked about starting strong, teamwork, facing your fears, even finding hope in the tough times. But there's this one symbol from SEAL training that really hits home the whole never giving up thing. It's called the bell.
The bell.
Yeah, and it's this constant reminder in training that you always have the option to quit. If it gets too hard, you just ring the bell and you're out.
It's that ever-present temptation to give up when things get tough. We all face it in some form, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the real lesson is choosing not to ring that bell.
It's about digging deep, finding that inner strength, and pushing through, even when you feel like you can't go on.
Exactly. And the author, he tells this incredible story about a young Army Ranger he met in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah, I think I read about this.
And this guy, he was a double amputee.
A double amputee, wow.
I know. It just blows your mind, right? But he had this, unbreakable spirit. He didn't let his circumstances define him.
That's incredible. What a powerful example of resilience. It's like he refused to let that bell even enter his mind.
Totally. Like he chose not to ring it, even when life threw him the biggest curveball imaginable.
And you know what? His story isn't unique. There are countless examples of people overcoming incredible odds, refusing to give up on their dreams, their goals, even their lives.
And that's the beauty of the human spirit, right? That ability to adapt, to overcome, to keep striving, even in the face of adversity. It's something we all have within us.
That's a powerful thought. It really is. And it all starts with that choice. The choice to not give up, to keep fighting, to keep moving forward, one step at a time.
So true.
It's about embracing the challenges, learning from our setbacks, and ultimately realizing that we are far stronger and more resilient than we often give ourselves credit for.
It's been a really insightful conversation so far.
It has. I love how these seemingly small actions, these choices we make every day, can have such a huge ripple effect on our lives, our well-being.
It's inspiring to think about,
Yeah.
that even something as simple as making your bed can contribute to a greater sense of well-being and resilience. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll explore even more of these powerful ideas about resilience, courage, and the incredible power of never giving up.
Can't wait. We'll be right back. You know what else is interesting? The source material really pushes this idea of not just facing challenges, but leaning into them. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Like not shying away from the hard stuff.
Exactly. There's this concept they talk about not backing down from the sharks. It's all about confronting your fears head on.
Oh, I like that. So it's not about being fearless. It's more about acting in spite of the fear.
Exactly. It's about understanding that courage, it isn't the absence of fear. It's about making that choice to act even when you're scared.
That reminds me of the story we were talking about earlier with Saddam Hussein. Even after he was captured, he was still trying to intimidate people.
It's amazing how he was still trying to hold on to that image of power, right? Even when he had nothing left.
He was a master at using fear and intimidation. It was like his weapon.
It was. But you know what I found really powerful? The author made this conscious decision to not play into that. Remember those small acts of defiance he talked about?
Yeah, like not letting Hussein stand when others came in, stuff like that.
Exactly. Things that seem so insignificant on the surface, but they send this powerful message like, your tactics don't work anymore.
It's about taking back your power, showing that intimidation won't win.
And not only that, but it can inspire others who might be feeling intimidated. It's like seeing someone else stand up to a bully gives you that courage to do the same.
It's like a ripple effect, right? One small act of courage can empower others to find their own. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit. There's this story in the material about a training exercise, a night dive.
Oh, the night dive. Talk about intense.
You're in the water, you can't see anything. I mean, it sounds terrifying.
It is. You have to completely rely on your training and your buddy to survive. It's like this ultimate test of mental strength.
It forces you to push past those fears and find that inner strength to keep going.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's such a powerful metaphor for those unexpected challenges that life throws our way. Those moments when you feel like you're surrounded by darkness and uncertainty, but you have to trust that you'll find your way through.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, you're right. It's about trusting yourself, your training, your instincts, even when you can't see what's ahead.
Exactly. And speaking of finding light in the darkness, there's this really powerful passage in the material about the ramp ceremony.
The ramp ceremony.
Yeah, at Bagram Air Base. It's the ceremony where they load the bodies of fallen soldiers onto the planes.
Oh, wow. That's got to be heavy.
It is. It's this stark reminder of the ultimate sacrifice made by so many who serve. The author describes it as one of the most profoundly moving experiences of his life.
I can only imagine being there, witnessing that level of grief and loss. It's going to be incredibly difficult.
It is. But he also talks about this incredible sense of respect and honor that just permeates the entire ceremony.
So even in that moment of immense sadness, there's this feeling of unity and connection.
Exactly. And it really speaks to the power of the human spirit, doesn't it? Our ability to find meaning and support, even in the face of such tragedy.
It's like we find strength in each other, even in our darkest moments.
We do. We really do. You know, we've talked a lot about overcoming challenges and facing our fears, but the source material also touches on something else I think is so important.
What's that?
Giving people hope, especially when they're feeling completely overwhelmed.
That makes sense, but how do you do that? I mean, how do you give someone hope in a situation that feels hopeless?
It's not always about grand gestures, you know? Sometimes it's the smallest things that can make the biggest difference.
Like what?
Well, remember the anecdote about the trainees singing during Hell Week?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It's so interesting how they turned to music in the middle of that intense training.
Right. It seemed counterintuitive, but that's the point. It was about finding that glimmer of hope in the darkness.
Like that saying, hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness.
Exactly. And it's something we can all choose to cultivate, you know?
Yeah.
In our own lives and the lives of those around us, it's about those small acts of kindness, words of encouragement, moments of connection that can remind someone that they're not alone. That even when things are tough, there's always that possibility of a brighter tomorrow.
I love that. It's so simple, but so powerful.
It is, and it all ties back to that core idea we've been talking about. Never giving up. It's all about that bell, that powerful symbol from SEAL training.
Right, the bell, that ever-present reminder that quitting is always an option.
Exactly. But the real power is in the choice not to ring it, you know, to recognize that you have that strength within you to persevere even when every part of you wants to give up.
I keep thinking about that story, that double amputee Army Ranger the author met. It's just incredible. I mean, to face that kind of adversity and still choose to move forward.
It's amazing. He didn't just survive, he thrived, you know?
Right.
He refused to let his circumstances define him. Instead, he found a way to redefine what was possible, to set new goals and just keep pushing forward.
It's like he looked at that bell and said, nope, not today. I mean, his story, it's a testament to the human spirit, that ability to adapt and overcome, even when things seem impossible.
It is. And it's a reminder that that capacity for resilience, it's in all of us. You know, we may not face those same challenges, but we all have those moments where we just feel like giving up.
We do. Those moments where it feels easier to just quit.
Right. But the key is remembering that we have a choice. We always have a choice.
So it's not about being superhuman. It's about recognizing that urge to quit and making a different choice.
Exactly. And that choice, that act of perseverance, it can be life-changing. It builds mental strength, reinforces your belief in yourself, and it empowers you to face whatever comes next with more confidence,
Sure.
with more resilience.
That's so powerful. It's like every time you choose not to quit, you're proving to yourself that you are stronger than you thought.
Exactly. You're building that mental muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay, we've covered so much in this deep dive, from making your bed to facing down fears, even finding hope in some of the darkest situations.
Yeah, we've really gone deep on this, haven't we? It's been an amazing journey exploring all these powerful ideas and stories about resilience and courage.
And ultimately, I think it comes down to recognizing that we all have that power within us, that power to create a healthier, a happier, a more fulfilling life. It's in those choices we make every day, the actions we take, and that spirit, that unyielding spirit we bring to every challenge.
So true. It's those seemingly small, everyday choices and actions that ultimately shape who we become and the impact we have on the world.
It's been inspiring. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Wellbeing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Wellbeing Podcast. Take care, stay inspired, and see you next time.